Good morning. I'm Kim Martin, Chief of New Zealand Debt Management. Yesterday, on the 28th of May, the Treasury released the New Zealand Budget, Economic and Fiscal Update. And alongside this, we updated forecasts for the New Zealand Government Debt Programme. So in summary, the New Zealand Government Bond Programme has been reduced by a total of 6 billion New Zealand dollars across the forecast period. That said, the current and the next fiscal years are unchanged at 35 and 34 billion New Zealand dollars, respectively. We've also announced that we expect to launch a new 2038 maturity nominal bond by the end of this calendar year. So let's look in a bit more detail. We'll break the discussion into two sections. First, the borrowing programme and the fiscal outlook that underpins it, and then the New Zealand Government Securities portfolio. So here you can see is our annual gross issuance remains on a declining path. Gross issuance reached a recent peak around $43 billion New Zealand dollars in the last fiscal year ending June 2025. And you can see that by the year ending June 2030, annual gross issuance is forecast to have declined to 28 billion New Zealand dollars. The black line shows net New Zealand government bond issuance after taking account of maturities and repurchases. Annual issuance on this basis is forecast to decline to 5.4 billion New Zealand dollars in the fiscal year 2030. Now, looking at the changes to the forecast borrowing programme here as tabled over the period to the end of June 2030, the bond programme, as said, is reduced by 6 billion New Zealand dollars relative to that that was shown at the December half-year update. The reductions are in the latter years. The changes are largely due to improvements in the underlying fiscal flows. Bonds on issue are now expected to reach 259 billion New Zealand dollars by June 2030. And you can also see we've made some changes to our short-term borrowings. These have been reduced slightly, and these are New Zealand Treasury bills and foreign currency ECP. The underlying fiscal outlook means that net core Crown debt as a percentage of GDP is expected to peak at 46.1% in the year ending June 2028, before declining to below 45% by the end of the forecast period, as shown here. So let's move on to the New Zealand Government Securities portfolio. So our current portfolio of bonds is shown here. The bars to the left side are nominals and those to the right are inflation index bonds. The green bar is our sovereign green bond that was first issued in November 2022. We've announced we expect to launch a new May 2038 nominal bond via syndication before the end of this calendar year. And you can see it will fill a gap on our curve. And this will allow that bond to build up volume in the new line ahead of it ultimately becoming the relevant 10-year benchmark line. We've seen strong demand for New Zealand government bonds this calendar year. We continue to offer 450 million New Zealand dollars of nominal bonds per week. And the bars here show that the tender cover ratio for each weekly tender by curve segment, short, mid, long bonds. And you can see that the bid to cover ratio has generally been some way above the horizontal line, and that shows the long run average for each of the curve segments. And our syndications have also been well supported over the past couple of years. Liquidity in New Zealand government bonds is supported by the uptrend in secondary market turnover that you can see here since late 2022. The chart shows quarterly turnover data in New Zealand dollars, and the colours show the different maturity buckets on the curve. Finally, you may recall around 60% of New Zealand government bonds are held by offshore investors. The dollar value of these holdings is at a historic high. And this chart shows the breakdown of nominal bond holdings in billions of New Zealand dollars. You can see three key investor groups. So the green line, that's offshore investors with holdings around 115 billion New Zealand dollars. Then the blue line, that shows holdings by the Reserve Bank of New Zealand that have been declining as it has reduced its holding under its large-scale asset purchase program. As that program plays out into the future, it is forecast that by June 2027, the Reserve Bank will no longer hold any bonds under the large-scale asset purchase program. Any bonds are issued by New Zealand and the New Zealand government. And third, the black line is holdings from domestic banks, and you can see holdings there have reached around 38 billion New Zealand dollars. So to sum up, that's our latest update following the budget, May budget for New Zealand. As always, thank you very, very much for your interest in the New Zealand government debt market. And if you'd like any further information, as always, please do reach out. Thank you.